Hello, my name is Niamh and this is my speech, The UK Government and the Divide with the Working Class. In the UK, the Conservative government has shown time and time again that they care about profits, privatisation and their people, the rich. This means that certain parts of the population benefits from them being in government, while the others, or the working class, suffer considerably more. This has always been a known concept, and some leaders have extended the divide more than others. However, the current coronavirus pandemic has only highlighted the Tories' bias in favour of the upper classes. For example, like when they paid £250 million to their acquaintances for PPE contracts, which then resulted in a national shortage. It's important to note that class is not just determined by income. It can be determined by aspects like where you live, where you come from, someone's job status, or even the type of house someone lives in. Therefore, bias does not just come in the shape of someone's monetary position, but it can also come in the form of stereotypes, like the working class using free school meal vouchers on crack dens and brothels, as Conservative MP Ben Bradley suggested in since deleted tweets. He said this at the height of the pandemic in 2020, when morale was already low over the government's handling of the pandemic and when the working class were already suffering after many had lost their jobs. It was essentially just another kick in the teeth to those already struggling, people in this MP's own constituency. And this is just one of the many examples of Conservatives making an assumption that they have likely picked up through the media, which as we know is heavily distorted, and running with it, letting it become ingrained in their ideologies and come through into their political work, which then comes back around to how the working class suffer from the Conservatives being in government. The official definition of crossroads is a point at which a crucial decision must be made which will have far-reaching consequences. And the thing that immediately came to mind when I read this was the U-turns that the Conservative government had made during the pandemic. And what does this have to do with the working class? Well, starting with the decision made on how to grade the GCSE and A-level exams of summer 2020, which had the worst effect on working class students because the bigger the class size, the more likely someone's grade was to be lowered, and bigger class sizes are linked with public schools, which is where working class children attend, and smaller class sizes with private schools where the upper class children will attend. And this was until the Conservative Education Secretary Gavin Williamson made a U-turn on his decision and used a different grading system which favoured children fairly and equally. Another of these U-turns we've seen during the pandemic was made by Prime Minister Boris Johnson to provide free school meals to children in the school holidays. There was a vote about it, and the only party that actually voted against it was the Tory party. It is widely known that footballer Marcus Rashford had many phone calls with the Prime Minister to argue his point in favour of providing impoverished children with food over the school holidays, as the pandemic had made it even harder for families to provide food to their children. And then the U-turn was made and the free school meals were eventually provided in the holidays. And these are just a few amongst many examples of U-turns, bias and the ultimate demonisation of the working class that has happened during the pandemic, which has been going on for almost a year, but there are many beyond and before this that show just how much the divide hurts the working class people of the UK. There is a bright side to these that can be seen in these U-turns. The suffering of the working class was only temporary in these situations, but when we look at the wider picture, the Conservatives and the working class will always be at a crossroads.